and we'll be doing a watch party every step of the way. That brings us to the co-main event in the featherweight division. Dan Ige, -175, Andre Fili, +145. Big fight here, Bryce. So Fili stepping in for the undefeated Lerone Murphy. He'll try to keep his momentum going. That was established with a big win over Lucas Almeida last December at UFC 296. So Fili uneven as far as the record in the UFC, but I do think he's coming into his own. He's 11-9 with a no contest through 21 UFC fights, looking to realize consistency and trying to produce here as the road underdog of sorts against Dan Ige. Certainly no stranger to the UFC Apex. Ige coming off a loss to Thug Nasty Bryce Mitchell at a fight night last September. Brian Petrie, will you have a selection for us on the co-main event?
Yeah, I mean, this is another really tough fight. Andre Fili, every time he fights, it's like he'll come off a bad performance and then you kind of doubt him and then you watch him fight. You're like, oh, this guy's really fucking good. This guy can use his length really good. For being a tall 145er, he's also got a really good double leg. He can explode into a double, which is rare for guys that height to get underneath somebody's hips. And he's been training with Team Alpha Male, those guys forever. He's comfortable in the feet. He's comfortable everywhere. He likes the fight. He likes the wars. You got Dan Ige is the same exact way. I mean, I will put money on and someone's going to be bleeding by the end of this fight. These guys are going to go at it. You got a shorter, stockier guy who wants to get in. You got a guy who wants to stay on the outside. They both can fight everywhere. I would lean Andre Fili if he wrestled a little more, because Dan Ige, I feel like, has been exposed with his takedown offense his last time out in a couple fights prior. I know he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's not very good off his back. So if Fili comes in with his wrestling shoes on, that's a great dog number. I just don't know if he is. I think he's going to have fun. I think he want to stand him up, bang him up. And with that, I'm going to lean towards Dan Ige. I feel like this is going to go a decision. I feel like it's going to be a very, very razor thin fight. Don't feel comfortable putting money on it, but I will give you a pick of Dan Ige.
Nicely done there, Brian Petrie. Is there any fighter who has the nickname the Apex Predator? I mean, one of these guys should just take it for one of these fight nights at the Apex and then get back to their old nickname. I feel like Dan Ige has won a lot of fights in this building. He's also looking to make a concerted run here at featherweight, Kenflo. 9-6 in the UFC for Ige, but he has lost 4 of his last 6. Usually holds serve against the guys he is favored to beat. He has that distinction this weekend, Kenflo. Dan Ige or Andre Fili in the co-main?
Yeah, I mean, this whole card is really just great matchmaking, top to bottom. Like, every fight makes sense. They're all evenly matched. For Andre Fili, he's got to use his reach and his footwork. He does not want to make it a battle of just trading on the inside against someone like Dan Ige, because if there's one guy who could put you out with one shot, it's going to be Dan Ige, right? Fili is more of a guy who gets things done when there's an accumulation of blows, when he's kind of juking and jiving and kind of picking, sticking and moving. That's what he needs to do here, and he can do it. Dan Ige is going to be a little bit shorter here against Fili, so that could be tough, especially if Fili's able to establish those long-range weapons early. He just needs to stay disciplined. Sometimes he gets a little overconfident, he loses focus, and he lets guys back into the game. You do not want to do that here against someone like Dan Ige. He just has too much experience and too much toughness. He's not going to let a fight kind of slip through his fingers. He's going to do everything he can to win or take you out. So he's got to be very careful. I think Fili can get it done here. Not an easy out, but when it's this close, I'm going to lean towards the underdog here. I think there's value here with Fili. Both guys are very inconsistent, so because of that, it's hard to do it with a lot of confidence, but I'm leaning towards Fili.
Cody Merrow chimes in. Davy or Davi Young, the Apex Predator, 3-4 for the mixed martial arts career out of Minnesota. He's got a fight coming up March 23rd at Art of War Cage Fighting 34. Looks like there's also an Amber Stotzenberger, who is the Apex Predator as well. 6-4 career at strawweight for the Apex Predator, Amber Stotzenberger.